Hello and welcome back to Mate's Tottenham blog and to this week's match preview for Liverpool against Tottenham in the Premier League on Wednesday. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by channel regular, the Irish Yid, David Harris, and Gav from LFC Daytrippers as well. Gav, how are you getting on?
I'm good, Matt. I'm very, very good. I have a lot of sports fans telling me they're extremely confident for Wednesday night, and that's exactly how I like it.
Oh, well, I think we have a reason to be confident, isn't that right, David?
Yeah, look, we've every reason to be confident. According to all the Liverpool fans, look, we're underdogs, and this is the way we like it. So we'll wait and see how we get on. But yeah, I'm confident going into Wednesday.
Yeah, look, it's going to be a very interesting game. If you are new to the channel and you want more content like this, including interactive live streams, Tottenham Hotspur Transfer Talk, and the weekly Tottenham Fan Voice podcast, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button down below. And if you are interested in becoming a channel member, hit the join button as well, and everything will be explained to you. And I think we should dive straight into this one with the team news. And the only injury concern for Tottenham ahead of Wednesday's clash is Eric Lamela, who, as we know, has been out for a couple of weeks. He may not be fit for this one. David, it's another niggly injury for him, and it's a concern because this is a thing that has got him out for a while in the past.
Yeah, look, how many times have we said about this guy? He comes back fit, he starts off well, and then he just goes missing again. He goes injured again. But look, he has been crucial to us this season, and the way Mourinho likes to play, he uses him kind of as a player that presses up top and tries to turn the ball over as high up the field as he can. And look, if he was fit, I'd definitely be calling him from the start against Liverpool. But look, yeah, no, it is a blow for me because no one on our right-hand side has took the opportunity as of yet. So it is a blow. Yeah,
for definite, I agree with you. I think Lamela is the kind of fiery player we'd need in a game like this and getting at the Liverpool back line when we do get up to pitch. But look, if we're speaking of injuries, I think we kind of have to touch on the Liverpool crisis at the moment, Gav. Joel Matip went off injured on Sunday with Diogo Jota. Now he's going to be out for a few weeks. Thiago as well, potentially out till the new year, and that just adds to the injuries for Joe Gomez, Virgil van Dijk, and I'm sure there's a few more in there that I'm forgetting. But how concerned are you about these injuries going into the game against a team who, I might remind you, are top of the Premier League table?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. It's no, listen, it's something that we've learned to live with. It's like you say, Lamela there is a niggly injury. Where you're they frustrate you a bit more, don't they? Because you're going, is he not back? If it's a niggle, why is he out for so long? And why is it constant and stuff like that? And we've enough players like that as well, like Naby Keita being case in point. But we've learned to live with it. Like when you go back to the Merseyside derby, Virgil van Dijk gets injured by a horrific challenge by Jordan Pickford, and no one will tell me any different that it wasn't that. Then Thiago nearly has his leg, folded in half by Richarlison in the same game, and there's been there's been some frustration from the Liverpool fan base that why isn't Thiago back, why haven't we got a definite on it? And I'm kind of going, lads, he could have had his career ended, and you're just going to have to take it. If he's out for 3 months, he's out for 3 months or 4 months or whatever it is. I can't remember even how long ago it was now, but it looks like January coming back in. But Joe Gomez is something that a strange one, because it happens on England duty and nothing's really said about it. And then Henderson makes comments last night about it's very hard for him to take personally over how it happened, and he's not happy about it, or he's not comfortable with it. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know whether that could have been a bit of a nasty challenge in training at England. Gareth Southgate, of course, then tells you that, it was all down to the amount of games he's played, but then Gareth Southgate picks this player after playing all those games, But we've learned to live with it, Matt. It's just... It's not one where you're wondering every week. You just know Virgil van Dijk's not going to be back this season. Joe Gomez is not going to be back this season. Thiago's going to be early January. But when you look through the squad, the Jota one is obviously an issue now, and that's 6 to 8 weeks they're saying, but it's usually on the 6 weeks mark. But when you look at it, Alisson is back. He came back against Fulham and he was excellent. Trent is back now as well. He got a decent amount of game time against Midtjylland, and he got about an hour against Fulham. So he's back. Andy Robertson is still there. Centre half wise, Fabinho's been absolutely excellent. Matip does go off at the weekend, but a back spasm is what's being told now. So. And they're hoping he will be okay for Wednesday night. If not, you're probably looking at Reece Williams coming in, the young centre half, who's done very well when he's played. The ones that annoy me are the likes of Naby Keita, Xherdan Shaqiri, because these are the players you want to come in when you're not even struggling, but when you just need a few bodies. Like when you look at our bench, we are down to a good couple of youngsters on the bench, so But we still have our front three that can rip anyone apart when they're on their day. And the midfield will still have Henderson, will still have Wijnaldum, and probably Curtis Jones has come on leaps and bounds since the start of the season. So it's an issue. There's no doubt about it. It's an issue that all clubs are going to have to face at some stage. Some haven't yet, but they most certainly will because of the way the season is. But you just go into these games, and at the end of the day, you can tell Liverpool how great they were last season, and they were. But it was a squad game, and now your squad's going to have to stand up and prove it. And I expect Liverpool to do it, to do that, like over the next couple of weeks. They have enough there to win most games, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And like, there's every cloud is a silver lining, the age-old saying. And you touched on it there with Reece Williams, and there's players like Nat Phillips and Curtis Jones, especially, who have come in and have been absolutely sensational. I know me and David were talking about it a while ago. Curtis Jones was extremely impressive against Fulham yesterday. Yeah. He kind of seemed like the player who was kind of taking the game by the scruff of the neck later on in that one. And I think the midfield battle could be a really important one in this game. And if Matip is out, it could potentially be a loss for you in the middle of the park. With Fabinho having to push back into centre half, although he will do a good job there, he will be a miss in the middle. What trio can you see potentially starting this game, especially if Matip is out?
Well, Fabinho will start at centre back regardless. Even if Matip plays, because he'll play beside him. There's no way that Fabinho does not start the centre half. He's not going to put. I don't think he's going to put Matip and Reece Williams as centre back or a Nat Phillips. He's going to go Fabinho and Matip, and if one is missing, he'll bring in one of the younger lads. So, if Matip makes it, it'll be Matip Fabinho. If he doesn't, I would say he'd probably err on the side of Nat Phillips actually over Reece Williams. Nat Phillips is a bit more physical. He's not the quickest in the world, but he's very physical. He just gets his job done. He just clears lines. He's an old style centre half, as people like to call him. Reece Williams has a bit more about him on the ball. Decent enough in the air, decent enough pace, but I think it's a big game, and I think Nat Phillips might suit it better, but we'll have to wait and see. It all depends on Joe Matip. Midfield-wise, well, Milner's not there. It doesn't look like Kate is there. Thiago's not there. Oxlade-Chamberlain was back on the bench, though, at the weekend, so he might be in the running, but I think you'll be looking at Henderson, Wijnaldum, Curtis Jones again. And Curtis Jones, we spoke on our podcast so many times about him, and I've seen him in pre-season tours, and I thought, no, he's just not going to make it because he plays for himself, not for the team. Simple things like not giving an overlapping full back a ball, and that's what Liverpool are all about, isn't it? And didn't know if the work rate was there, but he's just come on. To me, he looks more of a first team midfielder than Naby Keita does. That's what I would put it at the moment.
Yeah, and look, again, you're talking about the centre-back pairings there, David. If it is Fabinho Matip, if it's Fabinho and Williams, Fabinho Phillips, whatever it is, I think it's obviously a massive advantage to Spurs that it's not Van Dijk and Gomez, because aside from the fact that the best centre-backs are also pacey, and if we're going to be playing that low block and trying to catch Liverpool on the counter, which, again, we spoke about a while ago, we probably will be doing, how excited would you be about the potential of getting a couple of goals? Because we've struggled against Liverpool in the past. There's no secret. I think we were saying was it one win in the last 15 Premier League meetings, which was of course in 2017. Are you excited with the defensive woes Liverpool are having?
Yeah, look, with all the injuries, look, there's no hiding the fact that Liverpool are here for the taking on Wednesday night. They really are. It's the best chance we're going to get against Liverpool at Anfield, in my opinion. But look, it doesn't really matter who plays centre back, to be honest with you, because Kane, you've seen in the Marino role, he tends to drop deep. So for me, it'd be all about Liverpool maybe playing with a holding midfielder to try and stop that. Because once he gets the ball, and especially if we turn the ball over and he gets the ball when Alexander-Arnold or Robertson are caught up the field, you know what's going to happen. It's Son and Bergwijn in behind, and then they really will exploit the pace of Matt Phillips and Fabinho. But look, for me, the injuries, it is what it is with Liverpool. Look, it is harsh on them. But like I said, there's no better time to go to Anfield and play them right now. Look, especially with Curtis Jones in the middle. Don't get me wrong, the guy is a fantastic prospect. He's a fantastic talent, and I really like the look of him. But look, surely Højbjerg and Sissoko and Ndombele should be more than enough to get at that Liverpool midfield. Look, Henderson, he is what he is. Look, apart from Liverpool fans, he doesn't really get too much praise. I can see what he offers. But for me, our midfield is better, especially Højbjerg in there breaking up play and everything else. So look, I do expect us to turn over a lot of ball and find the feet of Kane, and then it's what Kane does with it from there, really. But if I was Kane, I would be looking to get on Matt Phillips or whoever starts there beside Fabinho and dictate the game from there, really.
Yeah, and it's going to be exciting because, you know, we were talking about it recently. Like, the people always ask kind of why it's exciting to watch Tottenham play when we do that low block and try to catch teams in the counter. And it's just the kind of feeling that at any given moment, you know, we can break up the pitch and in 10, 15 seconds we can have the ball in the back of the net. Because you're looking, that game against Arsenal, it was kind of their two most dangerous moments in the game is when we went and got on the score sheet. But of course, a fantastic goal from Son, a good finish from Kane as well. And I think an area where Liverpool could hurt us is out in the wide areas, because with the two fullbacks bombing on. Now I know the wingers do kind of like to come in narrow, but it could be a bit of a different one for our defence to contend with, because we haven't come up against a team who does play like that recently. And I'd be concerned if the likes of Sissoko and Dembele are pulled out wide to kind of deal with the fullbacks or kind of double up on the wingers, that players like Curtis Jones and Wijnaldum could find that space in the middle. But Gav, what we're kind of trying to figure out is how Liverpool will approach this game, because Klopp knows how dangerous we are in the counter attack, and you know, kind of his own sort of principles, I suppose, is attacking football. But do you think he'd be willing to adapt his game to be a bit more balanced and try keep first of all keep a clean sheet before trying to beat us, or do you think he'd be going straight out for the win?
The one thing about Jurgen Klopp gets painted as this manager at times that it's just like, you know, this rock and roll football, and it does happen at times, but he has the good thing about this Liverpool side over the last couple of years is they've loads of ways to beat you. You know, they have plenty of options when it comes to winning a game. Like, I've seen Liverpool go out and destroy teams, you know, first 20 minutes, just go out and destroy them. And, you know, and you might be only a goal up after that 20 minutes, which are just mentally and physically destroying sides that they don't have anything in the tank come 70 minutes to have a go with you. And then you're bringing on a couple of good players and you run out 3-0 winners. I've seen Liverpool teams sit back, like you think Jose might do, and, you know, soak stuff up, and then look at Mane and Salah and Firmino and maybe a midfielder breaking as well and can hurt you. I've seen them go out and play teams where they just go, right, listen, all bets are off, let's just do whatever happens and see how it goes, and they can come out on top. The way he approaches this one, it's interesting. You touched on Kane there and how he's come deep. I think I said this the other night, we were having a discussion on our podcast the other night, it was centred around the whole Kane, you know, ducking under headers and fellas falling over him and what do we think of it and stuff like that. But the point came up, and it was one I was trying to make, that I think it's probably his best chance to ever win the Player of the Year in England, because I think he'll score less goals than he ever has in the Premier League season, but I think he'll look a well more rounded player because of what Mourinho's doing. Mourinho has a habit of having a big guy up front, the likes of a Lukaku that he's tried it with. Famously Didier Drogba, that's big, physical, up against centre halves, running into channels, chasing balls, stretching defences, where he's looked at Harry Kane and went, look, he can't do that. And Harry Kane's a fantastic footballer, but he can't do it. He doesn't like running channels. He doesn't like being out in those areas. He likes being in between the lines of the box and setting people up or hitting shots or drifting in or getting into good goal scoring positions. But he looks a lot more of a rounded player for me, a more complete player. He is a danger, there's no doubt about it. Bergwijn is a danger. Son is a fantastic footballer. Like, it's just, there's no other words for the fella. He's a fantastic footballer. What way will Liverpool approach it? Well, if Jose goes into a low block, I think it might suit Liverpool, because Liverpool are going to push their fullbacks on. There's no doubt about it. Liverpool's biggest attacking outlet in their team is the two fullbacks, simply because they're up so high up the pitch. It allows midfielders to progress up the pitch. It allows our front three to interchange, one, and two, get that narrow if they like, and then they're in the box, and then you have more bodies in the box. So our two fullbacks are going to go, and it's up to Son and it's up to Bergwijn or whoever plays to track them. You know, now Spurs might be happy to sit there and play dumb a little bit and hope to you know, turn over ball and look to take us on the break, but I think it's a dangerous game to play against Liverpool, to sit in, and just to sit in for the sake of sitting in, if you know what I mean. Like, you see, Liverpool used to tell Liverpool, oh, they can't break teams down. Liverpool haven't lost a league game in 65 games at Anfield, and they've won the vast majority of them. You know, they've won the vast majority of that games for the last 3 seasons, I would say. So they can break teams down. I think Liverpool's approach will definitely be, they look for a centre half to snuff out Kane. They look to get from to get tight. They look to upset him. They will have to watch that wide stuff. The midfield, I think it's pretty well matched. You know, Højbjerg does what Henderson does. Neat, tidy, breaks up ball. He's decent. You know, I'm not a fan of Sissoko. I'm not. And Ndombele has been a little bit massive hype about him. I like him as a player, but I think he's been a bit hit and miss for Spurs, trying to find the right system for him, and maybe that'll come because it's working for Kane now. But Liverpool's approach for me will be one of we're the home team, we're the champions of England, and we're going to go out and we're going to try our best to win the game. I think it'll be a brilliant game, by the way, a brilliant game. I'm always the same in these big games. If you can keep me away from massive VAR debates, okay, or some player being an arsehole all game, just going around to annoy people and just setting out to upset people, and have a good old-fashioned game of football. If it goes one way or it goes the other, you go, brilliant game of football, just the way it is. Yeah. And I think this might be one of those. It really will.
Yeah, look, for me, I actually think it's going to be a great spectacle, tactical-wise, because, look, for me, I think you're going to see similar to what we've done to City. We are going to come out fast, and we are going to try and turn the ball over and get at Liverpool for maybe the first 15, 20 minutes. And then after that, if we do score, it will be sitting back. I can tell you that now. I can confirm that we will sit a low block for the rest of the game. Not a problem. Mourinho has no problem going there to try and spoil the game, spoil the party. And as well, interestingly enough, I think you might actually see what he done against City with Bergwijn, where Kane actually dropped and done a lot of defensive work, covered up spaces in the middle. And Bergwijn would pull on to the two centre-backs when we are defending and try and hit the ball in behind for him to get onto, like we did against City. I do think you will see that. But for me, look, Klopp's not naive. Do you know what I mean? He's a great manager. He's proven he's a great manager. He's won everything there is to win in club football. And look, make no mistakes about it. He will have tactics for Tottenham. They're not just going to rock up at Anfield and just try and overrun us and attack us. Like he will sit back for the first 20 minutes if he has to, and then he'll be confident enough that likes of Salah and Mane and all, then eventually they'll get into the game and overrun us. But for me tomorrow, if we do sit back, it's about plugging the gaps. You're going to see Sissoko. I know you said you didn't like Sissoko, but for me, look, the role he plays is he's in there. He's a nuisance. He breaks up a lot of ball, and as well, he also doubles up with Aurier, which is crucial. He helps Aurier out an awful lot down that right hand side. So Mane will come up against the two of them 100%. And the two of them are very effective together as well down that side. So I honestly think we could nullify Mane as well. And plus, we're not going to have gaps in behind for Liverpool to exploit us. Like a lot of times you see Firmino dropping short, and you see Mane and Salah going straight in behind and the ball's in behind. We're not going to give Liverpool the space to do that. So for me, it will be a case of Liverpool having to pass it around and break us down. And the fact that you're missing the likes of Thiago and players like that, I do think you will find it a lot harder.
Yeah, we absolutely could. But the way I look at it is, I don't doubt Spurs can go and defend. You know, Mourinho, people were giving out about Mourinho last season, but I think from the time he took over to the end of last season, if you had just played in that block, he would have made top four, wouldn't he? That was the form they were in, and they're in very, very good form this season. You know, and you've seen it against City, you've seen it against Arsenal. Like Arsenal in particular, for me, you know, they get ahead and they just sit, and then they go and get another one, then they just sit. It was classic Mourinho, as they say. The game was over. He wasn't letting anything slip. He was going to sit there and he was going to defend. And if Arsenal get one, so be it. But we might get the third, and that's the way it is. And my only worry, if I'm a Spurs fan, is that Liverpool can be very dictating to you. And what I mean by that is that there is teams where you can sit back. Like Arsenal are fucking awful. Let's be honest about it. So they are the sort of side, and I'm not saying that because I'm on a Spurs thing. They're fucking atrocious, and how that fella has a job is beyond me. How we got the job is beyond me. But that's another day's discussion. I need to go and talk to Lee Gunner about that, and I have done. But for me, you can't play against Arsenal like that because they're fragile. All right, they've El Neni and Xhaka in the middle of the park. You know, they're not going to hurt you, right? But they're not going to be, overly physical with you. But they're not going to be, I suppose, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not going to be as disciplined as you need to be when you're on top. That you keep that discipline and you make sure Spurs don't get out. You make sure nothing gets through the lines and stuff like that. And you can do that against Arsenal quite easily, to be honest with you. I'd say Mourinho licked his lips when he's seen the Arsenal side, and especially when Son scores that, he's going, this is over. He knows that game is over. You know, what happens with Liverpool is if you sit back against Liverpool, okay, they might be passing around you, they might be passing in front of you, but they're very dictating to you. And what I mean by that is they will squeeze you, and they will squeeze and squeeze and squeeze until there's nothing left in you. and you might break out, but you just don't have the legs to get there. You don't have the bodies, the people in their head start going, I can't really go here, because if I go and I lose, or we lose the ball, they've 5 fellas behind me. Because Salah cheats at football, right? And I don't mean that in he dives and all this bullshit. He cheats. And the reason I see he cheats is watch Reguilon on Wednesday night, and watch how much he stands beside Reguilon, even if Liverpool don't have the ball and the ball's in Liverpool's half. He will stand up against him, and if Reguilon goes, he'll still stand where he is, because he'll say, I'll just go and I'll stand against, who was a centre-half, Toby Alderweireld. I'll stand against him then. And what he does is he says, I will take the risk that Liverpool will win the ball, and if you have Trent on it, he can hit 50, 60 yards down the channel, and I'm sorry, but Mo Salah running at Eric Dyer time after time, there's only going to be one outcome. So that's what happens with Liverpool. They can nearly suffocate you in a 20-minute period where it affects you for the rest of the game. So it's going to be intriguing as to what Jose does. If I was Spurs, I'd come out and have a go at Liverpool, because you have got a fullback in Trent that's coming back. You have got a goalkeeper that's just back in for one game. You have Robertson that's playing every fucking game that's going. You have a centre-half pairing that, regardless of who's picked or who's available, is not an established centre-half pairing. And then you have a midfield. Jones is still young, but he's getting there. You've Henderson that I think is excellent, and you've Wijnaldum that's playing game after game. So for me, it might be a case of Spurs going, let's go for them 20. If we get something, let's take our chances in a 70-minute game. Attack v defence, because Mourinho just loves that shit. You know what I mean? So it's an intriguing one. People say the big one, it'll be a tactical battle. I think it's a much bigger tactical battle with Mourinho as a Spurs manager, as opposed to Mourinho being a Manchester United manager. Yeah. Because when they come as Manchester United, they have to show something. They're Manchester United. Whereas with Spurs, no offence to Spurs, but they're not as big as Manchester United, and it's not a bigger game as Liverpool v Manchester United. But he can come there and he go, don't give a fuck about reputations. If I can get my point or my 3 points out of here, I'll take her and run. So it's going to be very intriguing. I think there's too much being made of Liverpool injuries. And I think, I just think it's going to be a cracker, lads. I'm being honest with you. I can't see anything else other than a cracking game.
Yeah, for me, look, make no mistakes. We are going to go at Liverpool for the first 20 minutes, half an hour. We will go at them and see what we can get. And then if we do get ahead, that's when you will see the defensive side of Mourinho's tactics being employed, in my opinion. But I honestly do think we will go there to go at you. Look, it's a top of the table clash. It's going to make for a great spectacle. I honestly do believe this. I do think we'd be very naive to send Aurier and Reguilon bombing on forward. I really do. I don't think Mourinho's that stupid. Look, Mourinho have probably sat there watching DVDs and video clips on these guys for the last 6-7 weeks, I'd say. Do you know what I mean? And he'll know, like what you were saying about Mane or Salah going in and standing in on the centre back if the full back bombs forward. So I think Mourinho probably might. I'd be very disappointed if he doesn't have a plan for that. I would be.
He'll definitely have a plan. He's not Jose Mourinho for nothing. The only thing I would say is, what if Liverpool sit back and score first?
Yeah, well then we're buggered.
Yeah, again, me and Dave were talking about this a while ago. I think, Spurs, we did it against City, we did it against Arsenal. We didn't do so much against Chelsea, whereby we kind of went for it at the start. Not as in we went out and we went out to attack you, but we were a lot more keen to get on the counter attack. Whereas later on in games, we're going to keep our shape, and if there's a half chance we're going to lose the ball deep in our own half, we just hoop it forward. And if you're looking at the expected goals maps against Chelsea, we 0 expected goals in the second half. Against Arsenal, I think, other way around, we 0 expected goals after the 30-minute mark against Chelsea, and we 0 expected goals against Arsenal in the second half. So it's kind of, once we get that fast start, we get on the score sheet once, maybe twice, we can sit back then. It was a bit different against Manchester City. Of course, we got that goal in the second half. But what we do is just very rare, massive chances. With Liverpool, there's going to be a lot of half chances. There's going to be, efforts from range. And that's something that is really concerning me with this game, because Liverpool just seem to have a bit more than the other teams we played. They have that player who at any given moment can pop one in the top corner from 30 yards. Salah. And Mohamed Salah is one of those players. Mane, I think, is one of those players. And, Wijnaldum and Henderson, they don't do it often, but they have been known to do it in the past. Yeah. And that could be a big concern for us. But I think it's a bit dangerous at the moment, kind of, for Spurs. We almost feel invincible in these big games. And I've said it on YouTube many times, I expected us to go out and beat Manchester City. He was one of the most confident I've been going into a game this season. I expected the same against Arsenal, but I was expecting us to draw Palace on Sunday. I couldn't see us beating them. And it's just kind of the way we are at the moment. We're almost better in the bigger games, which is why I am concerned for Liverpool this Wednesday. But another area I think that Liverpool could perhaps, if they do win the game, it could be really important is, you've already mentioned, Gavin, in the fullbacks. And against Manchester City, we tried to force them wide, and we kind of nullified the thread out there with Sissoko and Aurier doubling up on the right, with Ndombele and Reguilon doubling up on the left. Against Arsenal, we gave Tierney and Bellerin the ball as much as they wanted and said, look, do what you want with it. We can defend that. But we're now coming up against, if you're talking crossers from fullback, probably two of the best in Europe. Trent Alexander-Arnold, superhuman, an absolute pleasure to watch the way he can whip in a ball. And Robertson probably doesn't get as much credit as Trent does, but he also has a fantastic cross on him. And then it's Bobby Firmino in the box, who in the past has caused Spurs a lot of problems, and I don't know the exact numbers, but he has definitely scored a few headers against us. So I would be particularly concerned about that. And look, I think another thing, I do agree with you, it's going to be a really exciting game, but I think it's even more so given the results that we saw on Sunday, because Tottenham are going to want to bounce back from this, and I assume Liverpool are the same. We were talking beforehand, you were saying Liverpool they way too much in that team to warrant a draw against Fulham. So I think both teams would really be looking for a reaction. But do you think they will be looking for a reaction, or do you think the mentality is the same going into every single game? It's just we're the champions of England, we should win this.
I don't think it's we're the champions of England, we should win this. I think Liverpool's motto for the last, they come second to City the season before last in what was probably the best title race you've seen in a long time. Prolonged title race, you've seen title races that go down to it edgy for the last 6, but this was literally fucking 18 games out. This was a half a season or nearly a full season where they just went hammer and tongs at it, and they were two exceptional sides. And then you look at last season, my argument about Liverpool is that if COVID doesn't stop Liverpool go and do, I genuinely believe they go and do about 107 to 109 points. That's how good they were. And I think if you hadn't stopped them when they were in that stride, because if you remember, they weren't playing the best before the COVID break, but they weren't losing games, they were winning games. And I think if they just muddled through that for a game or two, they would have just sprinted to the end. I think they would have just absolutely hammered Man City's 100-point record. As it is, the big break, they come back, they win it after 2 games, and they're on the piss, aren't they, for 7, 8 league games or whatever it is, and that's fair enough. Still a title after 30 years, you can do what you like, for all I care. Don't turn up, it doesn't bother me, because if it was me, I wouldn't be there, I'd be still in the pub. But the thing is, I don't think that's Liverpool's attitude of they feel like it's their God-given right because they're the champions. Liverpool's outlook on every game, and you'll hear it from Klopp and Henderson in particular, is always the next game. Always the next game. What is the next game? What do we need to do? When Henderson comes out after yesterday's game and says, we weren't right for the first 30 minutes. We didn't, we weren't right. Fulham were good. We couldn't get our foot in it. We didn't apply ourselves properly, and this is what happened. So it was a bit of a shot across the bows, I think, to the squad to say, listen, no feeling sorry for yourself here. You weren't good enough. If you'd have performed like you can perform, we'd have won that game. So Liverpool have a brilliant atmosphere around the squad, a brilliant set of standards around the squad, and they will look upon Spurs as they would look upon Burnley at home or Brighton at home. It's the attitude that they have. It's that we don't care who the opposition is. We have to do this, and if we stick to our standards, the rest will look after itself. Going into this one, if I was a Spurs fan, I'd be more confident if Liverpool had beaten Fulham. And I know that sounds strange, but Liverpool drawed in there yesterday and not playing well. If Liverpool had played well and it was kind of one of those days, you go, okay. If Liverpool had played really well and got robbed in the last minute, I'd fear for Spurs. But the way yesterday, I'm kind of going, yeah, you're going to get a reaction, because the thing is, when Liverpool gets stung by any sort of decision or bad performance, they are the best around at reacting. They react ridiculously well to adversity, regardless of what it is. So, will you look for reaction? Probably yes, but Spurs are the same, but how easy will it be to get a reaction out of both of these sides? Because as I said to you before we come on, Spurs look tired to me against Palace, and the reason they didn't win that game is because Palace weren't playing in Europe. And I know people make a lot of this, but literally Palace played last weekend and they turn up a week later to play. Spurs are playing in Europe and playing on Sunday and playing again on Wednesday, and it's just going on and on and on. And I think in years gone past, you'd heard about, such a player is out and the pitch isn't great and the weather, and it levels the thing out a bit. I think the fact that the volume of games the top teams are playing is a leveler to some sort of extent. So I don't know how much reaction you get out of either side. It might be a case of both teams just going, listen, Jose saying to Klopp, look, we're both at 80%, let's go out and see what happens. And they probably will have that conversation, to be honest.
For me, I'd be looking at it like this. Look, Liverpool have been gung-ho for the last 2-3 years now at the minute under Klopp. And there's only so long you can keep that cycle going for before you have to start kind of refreshing the squad. And for me, Liverpool are at that stage. You look at the injuries. There's only, like I said, there's only so long you can keep going at that tempo and that pace for. So for me, look, they really are here for taking tomorrow. I thought a lot of the Liverpool squad actually looked tired against Fulham, in my opinion. Look, they weren't at the races, and look, neither were Spurs. But if you think you're not going to get a reaction from Spurs, I think you are mistaken, purely because, look, this team and the mentality in the team is completely changed, and it's not what everyone, like anyone that hasn't watched Spurs this season, it's still Spurs. But I'm telling you now, the attitude in the team has changed. Everyone wants to do their job, and they're hungry. They're hungry. They want to be like the Liverpool players lifting trophies. They're hungry for this. And make no mistakes about it, they'll be ready to go tomorrow. That Palace game was a kick in the arse for us. And I agree with you, we did look tired. We did look very tired. But look, I am confident going into the game at Anfield. I really am. I honestly think Liverpool are there for the taking, and now's the time to do it. And I think if we do beat them, I think you might see Liverpool tail off a bit, you know.
Well, what I mean by a reaction is I'm not saying Spurs don't want to have a reaction. I'm not saying Liverpool don't want to have a reaction, but they've gone through weeks and weeks now of playing 3 games a week. And people would say, but it's over now. Well, it's not really, because you're playing fucking midweek again. I'd get that if we were playing on Saturday against each other. You go, yeah, they've had a week off, but they're not. They're playing Saturday, Wednesday, or Sunday, Wednesday, or Saturday, whatever it might be. Thursday in Spurs' case, and it's just. I've no doubt that, you know, both teams want to give a reaction. All I'm saying is that there's wanting to give a reaction and having the actual ability to give a reaction. You know, and then thrown into the mix that it is a top of the table clash. It is, you know, Liverpool coming up against a rejuvenated Spurs side. It is Spurs coming up against the top team in the country. So there's a bit of trepidation gets thrown in there. The adrenaline goes. You know, is it wearing on players a little bit? That's all I'm saying. You know, don't get me wrong. I'd love nothing more than for you to be right. And Wednesday night they all just come out all guns blazing and see who wins, because that's the favourite sort of game you want to watch. But I think the first goal is massive. I do think the first. We've spoken about who scores first. Did he sit back? Because Liverpool can do it. Liverpool can score against you and just sit there and go. You've seen it in the European Cup final. Liverpool just scored and went, yeah, go on, have it. What have you got? And then went and got a second one near the end. Liverpool won't be tailing off nowhere. I can tell you that for nothing. What Liverpool will do is, in my opinion, they will look at the next 4 to 5 league games that will get them through to January and the FA Cup, and then they will just play the canteen lady in the FA Cup away at Villa or whoever they can round up, and they will do their utmost to give their players a break at some stage, and they will dip into the transfer market. I've said it on our podcast, I've said it on other podcasts. If Liverpool were in 4 or 5 points of the league, the top of the league, come the 30th of January, they'll be champions again.
Gav, I actually have a question for you. So Liverpool have dropped 11 points this season already, and they only dropped 15 all of last season. Yeah. Now, do you think that's down to injuries, or is it because, like I said, they are tailing off and they just can't keep up that intensity?
I think if you look at all teams this season, they might. I don't know if their points totals are lower, but Liverpool's are definitely, because Liverpool were ridiculous last season. Like, to compare last season to any season, I think it's going to be difficult. You know, is it because they're tailing off? No, I don't think so. I think you're going to get a lot of strange results. You're going to get games where you'll draw when you would have won last season, and it'll happen to a lot of teams. It's just a condensed season. It's so intense. You've international breaks thrown in. This ridiculous fucking thing where they're only allowing 3 subs this season when they're allowing 5 at the back end of last season. It's just comical, to be honest. You know, you have all that. You've got injury. COVID is thrown in there, and a player gets it and he's gone for 10 days. So there's way more chopping and changing in teams. Now, Liverpool's is probably more magnified because of the situation with Van Dijk, Gomez, Thiago is being highlighted so much every single day, it seems. And I just think all teams are suffering. Now, don't get me wrong, because Liverpool are suffering, Spurs are a bit closer to us, maybe, or City, or I was going to say Arsenal there. What a fucking stupid thing to say. But Man City, you know, Chelsea. But I still think, you know, it's going to be a low points total that wins this league, I think. I think if you can get anything north of 85 points, I think you'll win the league, because it's so hard on teams, and I don't care how good your squad is, but you mixing and matching all the time, players out here, players out there, COVID, players on international break, comes back, he's tired. It's just, you can't really plan. And then I don't think it's Liverpool letting up. I think Liverpool have put in plenty of effort. The quality probably hasn't been there, but there's a number of factors to that. You know, nobody's going to tell me that if you start an 11 of Alisson, Trent, Gomez, Van Dijk, Robertson, Thiago, Fabinho, Henderson, Mane, Salah, and Firmino, that team is dropping off. You just can't convince me of that. You really can't. So for me, it's just a case of any team that's up there, Spurs included, hang in there, see what breaks you get, see how the cookie crumbles come probably the end of January, and then you will assess, because I think that's the sort of season it is.
And look, you made a point there, Gav, that like Liverpool won't put much into the FA Cup. They'll throw that away in their efforts to win the league. I think that's something that could be to Tottenham's detriment, because we've already seen Jose Mourinho put the big men on for the Europa League games, especially. We won it up against Antwerp during the week, and immediately after the goal he brought on Kane, Son and Dembele, and we're in the quarterfinal of the EFL Cup. He's going to go for that. I think he'll be the same in the FA Cup, and I think in the long term that could be something that would be really concerning for Spurs. Look,
to be honest with you, Matt, the FA Cup thing, I think judging where we are come that game, it will dictate
absolutely
the squad we put out for that, I think.
You see, I think this league will dictate for. Like, I love talking about sports. I love talking about all football teams, because they interest me in some sort of way. You know, the way. I'm not saying I'm big fans of them, but I like Arsenal intrigue me because they're just mad.
You'll go down a treat on this channel with all the Arsenal slander.
Well, to be honest with you, I spoke to Lee Gunner. I don't know if you know Lee Gunner's YouTube channel, and he's a big Arsenal fan. He does not like Mikel Arteta. I had a 2-hour conversation with him live on his channel about 2 weeks ago, and it was brilliant. And he was asking me about Arsenal. I was telling him straight what I thought. Now, I could be wrong. My Arsenal fans probably know a hell of a lot more than me. But what I'm seeing in Arsenal is a team, a manager that shouldn't be there, a team that's broken. They're claiming that he needs more time, he needs more players. Like, Lee Gunner tells me that 12 of those players are his in that 25-man squad. So it's one of those. But it'll, like, I've picked out Spurs since early on in the season as a threat to Liverpool's chance of winning the title, simply because their form last season with Mourinho. That was one thing. The change in the way he's playing Kane, which gives you a hell of a better chance, I think, of keeping him fit for the vast majority of the season. You might miss 4 or 5 weeks here and there, but he was missing too much over the last couple of seasons. And when he turns into the new year, like, we talk about the FA Cup, and I joke that we'll play the canteen woman or whatever, but he'll throw a load of youngsters in, because he will just. Klopp has a disdain now for the domestic cups ever since they made him play at Villa Park one day and wanted him to play in the World Club Cup in Qatar the next, and to ask an actual real football club to play 2 official games in 24 hours in 2 different continents is a farce, to be honest with you. And the League Cup, they want to big it up, and it's this and it's that. It's fuck all now to Liverpool, because Liverpool just go, well, what do you do to us? You damaged your own brand by making us send a team of under 18s to Villa Park in a quarter final, I think it was. So, for me, when it gets to the new year, like, I believe Liverpool will still be in the run for the title. I think they're in the knockout rounds of the Champions League, but Liverpool like that. Liverpool like those 2 competitions bouncing off each other. Now, it'll be a bit more difficult with a condensed season, and you just take your chances and see how it goes. But Spurs, for me, I know where you're coming from with the League Cup, because Mourinho's first trophy at Chelsea was the League Cup, and it was a kind of a springboard for him, and that's great, and it'll be brilliant for Spurs. They don't win enough trophies for me, for the stadium they're in now, for the stadium that they're in now, for the standard of players they have, and look, let's be honest, for the amount of money they've lost during COVID because of the stadium move, the timing of it, the loans they've had to take out, and they have to make it back. They're losing a shitload of money because they're not getting the NFL in there as well, which would have made them a killing. So I think the League Cup is fair enough, because that finishes in February, so you're fine. February is fucking grand. It's only are you in a semi-final?
Quarter against Stoke.
Okay, so you have 4 games max to go on that, so that's fine, and you can probably do Stoke with half a side, half a first team, if you really think about it.
Actually, I think the semi-final is only 1 leg this year round, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
It's 1 leg semi-final,
Oh, brilliant. At Wembley, like, in a one-off. Brilliant. Okay, well, then even better. But I think what will happen with Mourinho is Mourinho will concentrate on that Europa League, because it'll be a safety net if the league doesn't go right. Because listen, Spurs are top of the division, right? They're top with Liverpool on 25 points, I think, each. But Chelsea are behind us. Man City will definitely be in the mix. Leicester are still hanging around there. Southampton are having a fantastic season. Manchester United, for some reason, will be 3 points off the top or 2 points off the top if they win their game in hand. So it's so tight up there. And you could easily go from 4th to 5th in no time. You'd lose and draw one, and next while you look and go, what the fuck's going on? So what I think Mourinho will use that as a safety net a little bit. And if the league goes where, hold on, we're in with a real fucking chance here, I think he'll bump the Europa League. I think you'll have to pick one. Because you can't do Thursday to Sunday and win a title. That's just my opinion. I don't think, because one, it's a very short turnaround week on week, and two, the Premier League don't help you. They'll have you out away on a Thursday night, and they'll throw you in at 12 o'clock on a Sunday. They don't fucking care, that way. So I think a lot of people will have to assess in the new year where they stand with the FA Cup, the League Cup in your case, the Europa League, and then the Champions League for us and the league. So it's going to be very interesting, but. If anyone can do it, Mourinho can, because he's no idiot. That's one thing about him. He's no idiot.
Personally, I think, look, we'd be very stupid not to go for the League Cup. We're 3 games away from potentially winning it. And like you said, we need a trophy. Do you know what I mean? We're starving over here. We're hungry for a trophy. So look, for me, I think it'd be very naive for him not to go for the League Cup. The FA Cup, I honestly think he will scrap that. I don't think he's going to take much interest in that, in my opinion. Especially, but look, I think the games that against Liverpool, then we have Leicester on Sunday, and then I think we have Wolves the weekend after. I think that will dictate whether, where we're sitting in the league, obviously, but whether Mourinho thinks we have a real shot at going for the league, and then he can kind of just bum off the FA Cup, or whether he will go for an FA Cup and the Europa League and as a safety net for the Champions League. I think that's ultimately what getting out after the Wolves game will dictate basically where our season is going to go, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
The Europa League, do you get a Europa League spot for the League Cup?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do.
Well, there you go. If you win that, you've secured your European football for next season in February. It's not the European football you want, but it frees you up to either just, if you've dropped 7 or 8 points off the top and you don't think you're going to get back, you can just dump the league and say, here we go for the Europa League. We have Europa League, so we might as well go and try win that and make it Champions League instead. So there is options, but you have to be careful with your options, because you can get bogged down in too many competitions then, and next thing you know, there's players falling around all over the place, and they've nothing left in the tank, and you're looking for them to try win 1 or 2 trophies, and it's just not happening for you. So it's a good position to be in, though, and I hate to say it, lads, but if you want to be successful, you have to be in this position every fucking single season. I've seen it with Liverpool for the last 4 or 5 years now. You have to be in that. Mentally, you have to be in on it every single season and take whatever comes at you. But the FA Cup, put it in the bin. It's a load of shite. And the biggest thing about it is because why don't you just play all the games on Saturday and Sunday? They have them on Fridays now, Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays. And that's what's annoying clubs. You're making me play on Saturday in the FA Cup, and then you want me to play in the league on the Wednesday, or you make me play on Monday in the FA Cup and I'm playing on Friday night in the league. It's just not conducive to keep any sort of rhythm for players. So that's why the FA Cup just gets thrown out. At least with the League Cup, it's a Tuesday or a Wednesday.
Yeah, that's very true. And look, Gav, honestly, I could sit here talking football to you all day. It's an absolute pleasure having you on, but I think we need to go into now our score predictions for this game. We'll start with you, as you're the guest.
I think it's going to be a cracking game. I really do. I think the first goal is massive. I think it's massive because I think both of us can play that game where you get the first one, you sit back and you see what the others can do. Both teams look tired at the weekend. That's what I worry about, and I don't know what they have to freshen it up. And if they do freshen up from the weekend, is it dropping the standard a little bit? But Anfield, 65 games unbeaten in the league at Anfield is a ridiculous record. It does have to go sometime. I say it every fucking time we play at Anfield. But I'm going to go 3-1 Liverpool.
Bold shout, and I know David has an even bolder shout coming up here. Go ahead, David.
Can't wait.
Yeah, look, I know a lot of people are going to scoff at me. They're going to call me crazy. I'm going to go 3-0 Tottenham.
There it is.
I honestly think, Liverpool are there for the taking. There's no better time to go to Anfield and take 3 points from there. And as well, you look at the injuries and all. I honestly think we are going to score 1 or 2 early on, and then we will catch Liverpool on the counter after that. because look, if Liverpool have to go for the game, they are going to flood bodies forward, and we will expose that. I honestly do believe we will. So look, I'm going to go with 3-0. I'm so confident going into this game with Jose's tactics and everything else. But look, at the end of the day, we call Liverpool Liverpool for a reason, so they probably will end up getting a penalty. So look, it could be 3-1. You know,
he's having a laugh, is he?
Off far a lot. So
is he having a laugh?
Oh, David. No, David's always serious.
I'm serious.
Okay, can we? Do you get to give a score prediction, Matt?
Yeah, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to find a middle ground between the two of you. Look, I think Tottenham are going to win the game. I really do. I think Jose Mourinho is going to win the game more than Tottenham are going to win the game, to be perfectly honest. I think he's going to have the perfect tactics for this one. And I'm going to go 1-0 to Spurs. But of course, at any given moment, that could be thrown out the window with a moment of quality from Liverpool. But we have that feeling of invincibility at the moment, especially against the big teams. So I'm going to go with a 1-0 win to Spurs, because it's just, going to have to...
Yeah, well, you're a Spurs fan. That's allowed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I think we'll wrap it up there. There's a few things to say before we do end up. Make sure to go over and check out LFC Daytrippers. I'll leave them linked at the top of the description. It is primarily a Liverpool channel, which is a bit upsetting, but there's some fantastic general Premier League content on there. There's a Friday forecast that they do every Friday. Gav, with a load of really, really impressive guests. So make sure to go over and check that out. I was on it a couple of weeks ago. It is a fantastic show for any football fan, not just Liverpool fans. I do also want to say football lost a great man today in Gerard Houllier. And look, football it's more than a sport, and like clubs are more than a family. And I know how much Gerard Houllier meant to Liverpool. He did so much for them in the early 2000s. He won so much with them, and it was in essence his squad that did go on to win that Champions League in 2005. So I want to say to Gav and any Liverpool fans that are watching, our sincerest condolences for that massive loss, and it's a massive loss for football as well. So we remember him tonight as well. Gav, thank you very much for joining me. David, thank you very much for joining me. Again, both links for their channels down in the description below. To everyone who has watched, please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and smash that subscribe button if you are new. And as always, thanks for watching.
Come on, you Spurs.